Who drank my goddamn apple juice? Who drank my goddamn
coffee? Coffee. Put that coffee down.
Who drank my goddamn apple juice?
So first, I want to say thank you for joining me. I have been dying to have this conversation with somebody. I'm at the beginning of my spiritual journey, and so like feminine energy is something that I lack. I'm pretty, I can dress up and wear pretty clothes, but I'm extremely masculine. Okay. So I wanted to have this conversation. I've been dying to have this conversation with somebody just because I may need some tips and pointers on how to be more feminine, right? But before I get into that, first let me say thank you for joining me. This is the Coffee and Apple Juice podcast. I am Aisha Hadiya, your host. And I want to go ahead and introduce you, or matter of fact, let me let you introduce yourself, and you're more than welcome to plug in your social media as well as your podcast. Okay.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, my name is Jerrell Simpson, and I am a yoga and Reiki practitioner. I also read tarot cards. So I'm a wife, mom of 3, and just really connecting also with my spiritual journey. And as it evolves, I learn more and more. So I just try to share. I'm sorry, I didn't even mention I have a brand, the Flow Up, and it's basically a space for Black women to come together to share their own experiences about their spiritual journey with each other, to kind of commune with one another, to have yogic practices and move in the body, to tell our stories, and then also to rest together. I'm really big on giving spaces for Black women to just rest and not have to plan anything and just be spoiled and loved on. And I create retreats that are centered around just that. So I basically try to mirror my own journey and offer that for community. So things that I'm going through, things that I need, things that I see in my own personal space that I feel needs attention, then I try to make my work align with that.
Okay. And do you have a podcast?
Yeah, so I also have the Flow Up podcast. That's another way that I like to share my personal stories. I'm pretty much an open book, so I share a lot of things about motherhood, about marriage, and also just the podcast is centered around self-healing practices. So I like to talk about ways that other people are finding healing that may be taboo, that people may not be talking about, or they just had an interesting journey getting there to that place of own self-healing. So I like to talk about stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Well, definitely in the description, I'm going to have all of your information as far as the link to your podcast, where they can find you on social media and things of that nature. Thank you again.
Yeah, so, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. So this episode, like I said before, we're going to be talking about feminine energy, right? So I want to talk about different ways that women can tap into their feminine energy. Like I said before, I am extremely masculine, but I'm only masculine because of like just the way I was kind of, I'm not going to even say the way I was brought up, but I'm more so masculine due to the responsibilities that I've had to take over, right? So like, I don't have too many men in my life. So when it comes to who's in control of my household, that's me. When it comes to who has to do the more masculine things for me or for my household, is me. You know, when it comes, I have to pump gas and I have to get oil change. I have to get my tires re-rotated. I have to hang up bookshelves and hang up curtains and put chairs together and things of that nature. So it's like, what's happened is because my life lacks that masculinity that the man should provide and is supposed to provide, I've had to take on all of that, right? So it's like, I'm too busy being the mom and the dad. I'm too busy being the cook, the server, the maid. I have to, I have to do so much, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, it's like the little things that I do to try to make me feel feminine I appreciate them, yes, but then I don't want to say that I lack feminine energy because I don't have a man around. I don't want to give off that perception, but at the same time, I like to buy lingerie. I do it for myself because I like the way it makes me feel. But then on the other hand, I would like for it to be appreciated by somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want this episode to come off as in I lack feminine energy because I don't have a man or because I'm single, because that's not the case. What I want women to understand is that there is a such thing as feminine energy, and that a lot of times we get so bombarded with life that we just kind of pack our feminine energy up in a box and we don't bring it out as often as we should. I feel like with feminine energy, it should never leave us. But I feel like mine is just really, really dormant because life just hit me so hard that I don't use it as often as I should.
Ooh, that was a lot.
Wasn't it?
Yes, that was loaded.
Listen, and this is my life, literally day to day, 365. This is my life, but it's not just me. I'm sure that there is hundreds and thousands and millions of women out there who could really say, yes, I feel the same way. Yes, I'm going through the same thing.
Absolutely.
You know, so I definitely want your input on it.
You said a whole lot, and I should have had a notebook and paper so I could remember. But I do remember the first thing that you said when you got on the call. You were talking about just lacking the feminine energy, and I found that so interesting because we're on a Zoom call, and so I can see your beautiful aesthetic in your background.
But
and and just not even aside from the background, your aura in general, your face, the makeup is, the face is beat, the hair is, you know what I mean? Laid.
I'm not even wearing makeup, girl. I got some bio on and lip gloss and some lashes, and that's it.
Listen, I wish you guys could see.
They're gonna see it because I have YouTube. I do YouTube, so they'll see it.
Oh, that's amazing. So, everyone can already see this, you exuding this feminine energy from the external, from how you are presenting yourself in your aura, which is a reflection of inside of you, but also the aesthetic behind you, because that is feminine energy, beauty, adding art, adding colors, adding layers, adding, making things comfortable and making things pleasing and easy to the eye and relaxing with the lights. Like, there's so much feminine energy just coming off of it. So I think that it's always about having one awareness of both the feminine and masculine energy that we all possess, because this is something, it isn't exclusive to gender. It is an energetic, it's an energetic vibe that we all have. So we all possess both masculine and feminine energy. And we can always seek a balance, but things will never be balanced. We'll always be kind of more heavy on one than the other. That's just the way that life is. So it's simply just having the awareness of, hey, right now, I need a little bit more of that feminine energy. I need to reconnect with that. I possess it. I need to be aware of it, and I need to invite more of it in right now, because I am masculine energy is simply creation. It's simply doing. It's simply, and like you said, all the things that you are physically doing and creating and going after, and all these things that are awesome because we need it for productivity, but we also need that other side, that feminine side of rest, that feminine side of enjoying ourselves, sensuality. Feminine energy is rooted in sensuality and intuition. So it takes that feminine energy inside of you to make those decisions that you make, because you're not making them from a strictly masculine point of view.
Right.
You are also making it from an intuitive point of view. You have wisdom about yourself.
Yeah.
Feminine energy is all about knowing things and not necessarily having reason for it, but just having a gut feeling about something and making decisions based off of that. So one, I wanted to say, you got a lot of feminine energy going on. And I think when we want to kind of tap more into our feminine energy, it's all about, well, what triggers your sensuality? What makes you feel connected to that softer side of yourself? And you talked about lingerie. And so I think that that's a beautiful practice. Women buying lingerie for themselves, maybe taking pictures, not sex, I didn't even mean to bring that in, but just taking photos of yourself in the pictures and really getting comfortable in your own skin, or being completely nude and looking in the mirror. I have an episode on my podcast where I use that as a practice of self-care, of just staring at yourself butt naked and having like a glass of wine or a glass of tea or something that you really like, and just spending about 20 minutes just staring at your body lovingly, and how that is a beautiful way to connect with your feminine energy. Practices like that just get you into the body. Of course, yoga is a very good practice, I think, because it's not just about the physical poses. When you really start your yoga journey, you learn that it is very spiritual. And you will be connected to parts of yourself that you may not have been aware of. So I think that that's a good way, again, to tap into your sensual, but just asking yourself, what do I need? What do I need to rest? What feels good right now? And giving yourself permission to do just that.
Yeah. So just to kind of piggyback, my bedroom is like my own space. So like I have 4 kids, okay? And because they bombard my whole house, this is my own personal space. Yeah. So I do try to make it as pretty as possible, because that's what makes me feel good, just being comfortable in my own space. Now I try to make the rest of my house feel pretty, but then it's like, here they come. So it's pretty, but this is my space that I maintain by myself. And so yes, when it comes to like my home decor, my appearance, those are some of the things that I do to help bring out my feminine energy. My room is very relaxed. This is like my zen, my space of peace.
It's beautiful.
And another thing, so I did some research on the Untitled crystal. Yes. And I have been wearing it because I was told that it does help with your feminine energy as well. And so I'm just really like, I hate to put out that I'm not feminine. I'm extremely feminine. I'm really girly, but it's like in some areas I just lack feminine energy. So like, for example, in communicating, I can be extremely masculine when it comes to communicating. My attitude can be extremely masculine. Like, I know I can get what I want from certain individuals, but it's almost like I have to use manipulative tactics to do so. And I don't want it to be that way. I want to just come off feminine, if that makes any sense. Like, communicating is definitely one of my areas where I lack feminine energy. And I would also say, you know what? That's probably just really the only one that I can think of right off the bat. And I know a lot of people is like, well, how can you lack feminine energy in communication? It's just because like I talk so harsh. Like I'm cool, calm, and collected now, but I can get to a point where I talk so harsh. I use profanity. And I want to get to a point where I don't let those things take so much power, to a certain extent. But I remember having a conversation with some friend girls about feminine energy, and they had asked me, when was the last time you used your feminine energy? And I was telling them, I work in a warehouse full of men.
Okay.
And before I got a promotion, I used to be a package handler where we would do a lot of heavy lifting. They didn't care nothing about you being no girl. If you need to lift a box, they got bowling balls in it. We need you to lift this box and put it where it's supposed to go, right? So she was like, well, how did you use your feminine energy at work? And I was like, girl, $1.50. That's all it took. She was like, wait, what? So I would be like, I would go up to the guys and I would smile pretty and I'd be like, hey, can you please help me lift this box? And then instead of asking if they want a Gatorade, I would just go and spend $1.50 and buy them a Gatorade. And I'm like, here you go, babe. You know what I'm saying? But it was something as simple as just just smiling and giving them a Gatorade, that I was using my feminine energy to get what I wanted in that case. And that works a lot. I got some of my drivers bringing me coffee every morning. I got some that bring me breakfast. I got some that give me gift cards sometimes. Some pay me cash out their pocket. Like, but like I don't want to say that I use it in a manipulative way, but at the same time, that's how I use my feminine energy when I'm at work. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, communication is just where I lack a lot of feminine energy because I just talk so harsh and I could just be really, 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 really masculine when it comes to the words that I say and how I say them. But how do you feel about women and how they use their feminine energy?
Oh, good question. No judgment. I would have that approach to it. If it's not harmful to anyone, if it's not harmful to yourself, if it's not harmful to anybody else, then I have no judgment, because we all use it in different ways for whatever we may be seeking. And really, honestly, when you were talking about feminine energy as far as in communication, and I don't want this to sound like what I'm going to say is going into just like the patriarchy of women should be quiet, because that is not what I'm going to say. I mean, that's not what I'm saying. But to lean into a feminine energy when it came to conversation would be more observing. So saying less and really observing what people are not saying, letting them talk it out, letting them, you know what I mean, kind of like just saying less. The power is in saying less and observing, as far as just what a feminine energy archetype would be in that situation as far as communication. So I would lean into that, because I think that it also gives us time to pause and really reflect on our words, because sometimes we may be impulsive with them and we're reacting rather than responding. So we may say things that we really don't mean, or we would said it a different way had we had more time to think about it. So I think that just like more so pausing, and I had to really lean into that being married, because when you are in arguments with your spouse, you are heated, you say things, and I had to really learn to just not say anything.
Yeah.
Like literally going back to if I don't have anything nice to say right now, let me not say anything, and just let me just observe. And that silence is so paramount. It means so much, and it does so much there. It allows, everything just needs time to breathe. Yeah. So I think when it comes to communication, kind of just having more pause and allowing listening and observing. It's all about observation, not just being quiet and not saying nothing and not thinking about anything, but observing everything around the room, because feminine energy is queen energy. And in the hierarchy of queen and king, the queen is to the right, but she's really the one in control. You know what I mean? She's the one. She may not be speaking, but she's controlling every single thing that happens in this room. She's watching every single person, and she knows what to say and when to say it so that it has influence. And that is the influence that you use when knowing that I can go get $1.50 Gatorade and I could work less. That's you leveraging your influence, which is feminine energy. So I have no shade to anybody how they get it, because at the end of the day, we're all doing the best that we can. So I would just suggest just more so using feminine energy for yourself and connecting, because there is so much there in our womb space, in our sacral chakra. That's where it's housed. And so just that alone, just the fact that we create life from this portal from heaven and earth, like it's just so much there, and it's so much to connect with. So
well, thank you so much, because that was a mouthful, but I definitely took heed to all of that. But yeah, like I said, communication is definitely one of my downfalls. I can honestly say that I have probably ruined multiple relationships, whether it be friendships or not, because my mouth is really vicious, really vicious. And I don't pause. I don't sit back and observe. And that's probably one of my weaknesses, is the fact that I just go off the dome and just let you have it, But like I said, I'm stepping into this new me. I'm starting my spiritual journey. I'm working on just kind of looking back on life and healing my inner child, doing some shadow work, and just really trying to get me to a space where I'm the best me that I ever can be, you know. I've been doing I got a lot of self-care routines that I do just to kind of get me together, you know. So I definitely, like I said, I definitely wanted to have this conversation just because I feel like I'm not the only one who is lacking this, or not. I don't like using the term lacking this energy.
Right.
I want to say that I'm not the only one who has this energy boxed up in a box. You know, I'm ready to unpack. You know, I'm ready to unpack this energy, and I don't want just my room to resemble my feminine energy. I want it to be with me everywhere I go, 100, 100% from head to toe. I want my feminine energy to just take over to a point where I won't be having this conversation again because I'm complaining that I can't find my feminine energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want it to just walk with me. I want my feminine energy to be on display when I talk, when I walk, when I go to the grocery store, when I'm this and when I'm that, and not to bring men into it because they honestly have nothing to do with it, but
not at all.
They have absolutely nothing to do with it. But if I do get to a point where I'm ready to bring a man into my space, or when I'm ready to approach a man, or whatever the case may be, I definitely want my feminine energy to be on display then as well. I had a guy friend inbox me because he wanted to be a part of this episode, but the schedules didn't work, but he didn't even know what feminine energy is. He was like, what is that? And I was like, wait, what? He was like, yeah, I'm so confused. I don't understand, what is feminine energy. And I said, it's that magnetic pull that got you wanting to ask that girl for her number, or it's whatever it is about that woman that makes you want to approach her, or whatever it is about that woman that has you staring at her just a couple seconds too long.
Right.
I say feminine energy.
You know what feminine energy is. He knows what feminine energy is.
I don't think it's that he didn't know what. I think it was more so that he just never heard of it as feminine energy, right? So I was just explaining to him, like, feminine energy is woman. It's everything about a woman that you can possibly think of. You just have to really, I don't know, you just give it whatever name you want to give it, but that's what it is. In a nutshell, it's just that magnetic pull that has you, that's drawing you to that woman. That's basically what it is. So I basically said my spiel. Is there anything else that you would like to include as far as feminine energy, or do you have any tips or tricks, or maybe some ideas that women can use to kind of help them embrace their feminine energy, can help them display their feminine energy a little more, or anything of that nature?
Absolutely. I would say a lot of, first, if you want to do things that are just with yourself, because I know a lot of women that you talked about, they're introverts. They may not want to go to a dance class and take a sensual dance class in heels.
Like pole dancing.
Right. Dancing is huge. So one of my best friends is actually a pole dancer. And she's been a friend of mine since we were 15 years old. And she always was just very extra. I'll say that in quotation marks, and she would just, if we were in theater together, and if it was ever a dance routine, she would just do the most. And, you could tell that she just had this type of energy that she didn't know what to do with it, but it just exuded off of her, just in her movement. And later on in her life, on her own journey, she came to pole dancing, and it was just like, the best union that I've ever saw. It was, she fell in love with the practice. She was phenomenal at it. She put on these amazing shows where she just, would leave your mouth to the floor, and it was just so beautiful to see, like, this expression that she had through pole dancing. And she says that it was really super healing for her, to wear what she wanted to wear, because she spent so much time people telling her that she didn't wear enough clothes. You know, when we were younger, she would wear short halter tops, and people be like, girl, put some clothes on. Like, why do you know what I mean? Like that so much. And she always had to fight. She'd be like, why? It's hot. I want to, you know what I mean? I like my body. You know, it was always a struggle for her. So to finally be in a space where she can, you know, wear less and, you know, be her real authentic self, it was just really nice to see. So I think, and she started, just to share her name is Goddess Aphrodisiac. If anybody is interested, she also teaches sensual dance classes as well online. And you know, you don't have to have your camera on, but it's just a really good intentional experience. I had the pleasure of taking one of her classes. But for people who may not want to join in that way, I would say again, connecting with your feminine energy is just having that quiet time to your space in general. Meditating, journaling. There's a beautiful app called Insight Timer. It's a free app that has over 10,000 certified meditation practitioners that donate their time to guided meditations on there. So there's literally every single topic that you can think of. If you need it for rest, or, you know, connecting with your feminine energy, like there's literally a meditation for everything. And so I would suggest downloading the Insight Timer app and having meditation with yourself. I think another thing, aromatherapy is really good, like having those calming scents like lavender, chamomile, or really just playing with scents and senses. I think that feminine energy is like a sense. So really tapping into other things that trigger your senses. It may sound like, you know, it may sound simple, but I think that senses have memories, so it also can just kind of feed into that energy. And then I mentioned yoga. I also recommend a book. I have it here with me. It's called Own Your Glow, and it's by Lathan Thomas. And she's the founder of Mama Glow. This book damn near changed my life. It talks so much about feminine energy, and she does it in a way that's super practical. She just talks about everything, feminine parts, you know, really connecting with your body. Like I realized, I'm 37 and I'm just now naming all the parts of my pussy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I can say that, but just like,
you can say it,
you
it's
know,
fine.
okay.
It's fine.
You know, like we just know the clit or the vagina and all these other things, but there's like thousands of nerves. There's so many different parts and pleasures, and just knowing them and naming them. And just really, it's very empowering for my feminine energy. So I recommend this book for sure. You cannot go wrong with this book. It will definitely lead you in the right direction.
I'm probably gonna order it today. I might even have time to go to the bookstore and see if I can pick it up.
This book is everything. This book is so everything. You won't be disappointed. And yeah, and just knowing that we all are doing enough. Like you mentioned, like having a male to kind of, or not necessarily having a man around, but you don't want it to sound like that. But sometimes women, they feel that the way that they like to express their feminine energy is to be received. You know what I mean? Is to be seen. Everybody does want to be seen and wants to be adorned and wants to also have it coupled with masculine energy, with the outside masculine energy, not always coming from ourselves, but having that play, that cat and mouse. So for that, I would definitely say, like, if you feel like you want to get out there more, put yourself out there more. You know what I mean? Push yourself, not necessarily going out and super dating or anything like that, but just if it's meetups, you know, if it's groups or things, joining conversations with the opposite sex that could be platonic, and just being in that space, because it may not necessarily be a romantic relationship. You just may just like the company of, you know, the opposite partner. So just putting yourself in situations where you can be a little bit more social. And I think that is also a good opportunity to have conversations with the opposite sex and, you know, get their opinion about things. So
cool. Well, you definitely put me up on game about a lot of things. I am gonna
Thank
leave.
you.
Once I leave here, I'm gonna definitely go check and see if my local bookstore has that book.
Yes.
I've been reading Pussy Prayers. I'm not sure.
Yes.
I
I
have
heard
been
about that
reading
book.
that. So once I finish that, I will
So
definitely
how
let
is
you
that
know.
book? Do
So
you like
I
it?
just started.
Okay.
I just started. I'm probably maybe a chapter or two in.
Okay.
The beginning of the book is it's kind of like, okay, this is what to expect. So I haven't really got to the parts that are
I got
like,
you.
but I just started, but I'll definitely let you know about it once I
Yeah.
finish. But I have started doing that because like I said, so like I've just been doing little things to kind of, you know, bring my feminine energy out. And that was one of the books that I was recommended. So I'm definitely gonna finish reading that and I'll let you know how that goes.
Yes.
And then I'm gonna pick up this book as well, and because you
Own Your
swear
Glow.
by it, so I definitely
I
will.
swear by it. Own Your
Yes,
Glow. She had an
on your
excerpt.
glow.
I'll just tell you real quick. She had an excerpt in there where I was like, yes, I'm picking up this book. And she talks about darkness. And
Mhm.
she talks about how it's looked at as ugly and bad and all these things. But she's like, darkness is where life is created. When you're in the womb and
Mhm.
that baby is first being created, it's in complete darkness. Like
Yeah.
she compared our womb to the soil. And she was like, earth and plants and flowers and life grows from the dark soil. So she was just talking about
Yeah.
how rich that energy is, and I was just like, oh yeah, I was
Yeah,
snapping my
you
fingers.
definitely got me. So I am going today to go and find that book.
Yeah, it's pretty
But I
cool.
want to thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for
This
having
conversation
me.
was, oh my gosh, it was so enlightening, and I really
Good.
appreciate you. I definitely look forward to having you onto my show again.
Yay, I would love
Before
to have that.
Great. So before we close out, definitely let the people know where they can find you, your podcast, your socials, whatever you want them to know. Go ahead and plug that in now.
Thank you so much.
You're
One,
more
thank
than
you again
welcome.
for this experience. It's been great talking to you, just to even have the space to talk about feminine energy. I think it's beautiful, and I enjoyed this conversation so much.
Thank you.
And if you want to check out the show, I am the Flow Up Podcast. That can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or all streaming platforms. You can also follow me on Instagram. My personal is at Dreadlock Yogi. That's DreadLockYogi. And or you can follow me on at Black Lady Tarot. I also read tarot cards, and that is where I hold a lot of my tarot content as well.
Oh, I
And
can't wait for that.
yeah, thank you. That's dope. Yeah, I love tarot. And then lastly, you can go to my website, www.theflowup.com, if you want to book a private yoga session with me, tarot, or Reiki. And also, I have my first product, Flora Water, which is Florida water, but it's handmade and handcrafted here in my house. So you can purchase a bottle of that if you're interested.
All righty. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Thank
I'm going to have
you.
all of her information down in the description so you guys can go and check her out. I will be purchasing a bottle of your Florida water.
Oh, wow. Yes.
I'm
Thank
also
you for
going
your
to go
support.
and buy this book. You're so
Yes.
welcome.
All right.
So thank you so much for joining
Well,
me,
thank
and
you
we will
for
see you
having
guys
me.
next week.
Peace.
All right. Bye.